Okay, so we're diving into some really cool stuff today. Humanity Elevated, this book by Muammar Lone, and we've got these excerpts from this textbook on the evolution of work, which I thought was a really great.
Really smart to kind of put those two together.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
seeing where we came from in terms of work,
Yeah,
helps us understand where we are now with AI and everything.
totally. It feels like you're looking for a roadmap of how to not just survive, but really thrive in this whole future of work thing.
So, yeah.
Figure out what skills we should all be focusing on, pitfalls to avoid, and maybe even a career path that's both lucrative and fulfilling.
Yeah, yeah. And
Nice all big ask.
that is a big ask. But I
Yeah.
think Lone's book really gets at that.
Yeah.
He takes this really interesting perspective on AI.
Yeah.
He's not like doom and gloom, robots are taking over.
Right.
He sees AI as something that actually elevates what humans can do.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a much more optimistic take.
It is, and I think it's
Yeah.
important because it kind of opens up the possibilities rather than shutting them down.
Right. So then he talks about this concept of the hybrid professional.
Yeah, the hybrid professional, this is where it gets really fascinating, I think.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. What does this hybrid professional actually look like in action? Like, are we talking someone who can code in the morning and then lead a team building workshop in the afternoon?
You're spot on. I mean, it is that kind of like
Wow.
versatility, being comfortable in the digital world, in the physical world, leading diverse teams, constantly adapting
Right.
to new technologies, new challenges. They're like these chameleons of the professional world, able to just shift and thrive in any environment.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so it sounds like this hybrid professional isn't just, a nice to have. It's becoming essential in this age of AI.
Right.
So is Lone just speculating on this, or does he actually point to real world trends to kind of back this up?
No, he's got some really compelling evidence, and I think the textbook excerpts really highlight this too.
Okay.
Like, think about the pace of technological change.
Yeah.
The first industrial revolution lasted roughly 80 years.
Wow.
The fourth one that we're in now, it's only been going for about 24 years,
That's insane.
and the pace is accelerating.
Yeah,
So that means that what's in demand today might be obsolete tomorrow.
right.
And this is where the hybrid professional really thrives
Yeah.
because they can adapt and learn quickly.
Right. Their superpower is their adaptability.
Exactly.
So, okay, that makes total sense. But then how does all this tie back to the need for uniquely human skills? Like, won't AI eventually catch up in those areas too?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And Lone's argument is that while AI is getting really sophisticated, there are certain skills that are just inherently human,
Right.
and they're going to remain valuable no matter how advanced the technology gets.
Okay.
In fact, those skills might become even more important because AI is going to free us up from all those routine tasks.
Well, then we can focus on higher level thinking.
Exactly.
I'm listening.
So he highlights 5 key areas that are essential human skills.
Flame on.
Emotional intelligence, critical thinking, resilience,
Okay.
digital literacy,
Yeah.
and something he calls creative synthesis.
Ooh, I like that one. Let's start with emotional intelligence. I know it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I feel like in the context of AI, it takes on a whole new meaning.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Because it's one thing to be emotionally intelligent when you're face to face with somebody.
yeah.
But how do you do that in the digital world where so much communication is happening through screens and text messages and
You're totally right.
yeah.
I mean, think about it. How do you accurately gauge someone's emotions in a Zoom meeting when you can't see their full body language? Or how do you make sure your tone comes across clearly in an email or a chat message where it's so easy to misinterpret things?
Yeah.
So we almost need a whole new set of emotional intelligence superpowers for this digital landscape.
Totally. Okay, so critical thinking, I feel like, isn't that something AI is actually getting pretty good at?
Yeah, AI is definitely becoming more adept at processing information and analyzing data.
Right.
But critical thinking is more than just crunching numbers.
Yeah.
It's about evaluating information, especially when it comes from AI,
Right.
and being able to tell fact from fiction, bias from objectivity.
That's huge.
And then there's the ethical implications of AI,
Yeah.
making sure we're using it responsibly. All of that falls under critical thinking.
So it's not about rejecting AI, it's about learning to use it critically.
Absolutely. It's about being discerning consumers of information
Yeah.
and using those critical thinking skills to navigate this increasingly complex digital world.
I like that. Okay, so resilience. I feel like that's a pretty obvious one in a world where, the only constant is change.
Yeah,
love that.
it might seem obvious, But Lone argues that it's more than just bouncing back from setbacks.
Oh,
It's about developing a mindset that actually embraces change as an opportunity rather than a threat.
that's a really cool way to think about it.
Yeah, and the textbook actually highlights some fascinating research on how these rapid changes are impacting different generations in the workplace.
Oh, interesting. Like you've got like 5 generations all working side by side.
Exactly. And they each have their own expectations, their communication styles, their values.
Yeah.
So being able to navigate those differences, build relationships, and understanding across those generational divides, that's the hallmark of a resilient professional.
I love that. I mean, so we've got emotional intelligence, critical thinking, resilience. What about digital literacy? That one feels like a no-brainer in the digital age.
Yeah, you're right. It's fundamental.
Yeah.
But again, it's more than just knowing how to use certain software or navigating social media.
Okay.
It's about having this deeper understanding of how technology works,
Right.
its potential, its limitations,
Hmm.
being able to leverage it effectively to solve problems, create value, communicate clearly.
So it's almost like becoming fluent in the language of technology, not
Yeah.
just knowing a few words and phrases.
I love that analogy.
Okay, so now for the fun one, creative synthesis. This is where the magic happens, right?
Hmm.
Where human ingenuity meets the power of AI.
Absolutely. This is where it all comes together.
Okay.
So it's about combining your own creativity, your insights, with the capabilities of AI to develop these really innovative solutions.
Okay.
Think of it as a partnership, a collaboration between human and machine,
Got it.
each bringing their unique strengths to the table.
Okay, I need a real world example.
Okay, so Lone uses the example of Netflix and their decision-making process.
All right.
They use AI to analyze all that viewer data, predict what's going to be popular,
Yeah.
but ultimately human creativity and intuition guides those final choices.
So it's like AI is giving them the data,
Yeah, like the raw material
and then they use human creativity to kind of shape those materials into.
into something compelling and engaging.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, it's also fascinating, but with all these skills, I mean, where do we even begin? This feels kind of overwhelming.
Right, and that's where Lone's frameworks are really helpful. He doesn't just tell you what skills you need. He gives you this practical step-by-step guidance on how to actually develop them.
That's great because it can feel very overwhelming.
It can.
Yeah,
And he emphasizes that you don't have to master everything at once.
right.
It's about figuring out where your strengths are, recognizing areas for growth, and creating your own personalized development plan.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better, a little less stressed out about it.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about the rise of the hybrid professional, these 5 essential skills for thriving in the age of AI.
Right.
So let's take a quick pause here. Let all of this kind of sink in. And when we come back, we'll explore how to actually showcase those amazing skills you're developing and craft a digital brand that really shines.
Sounds good.
Be right back.
See you in a minute. All right, so let's dive back into those practical frameworks that Lone lays out in Humanity Elevated, because he doesn't just talk about these skills in theory, he actually provides like a roadmap for developing them.
Right. I like that.
So let's start with emotional intelligence.
Okay.
His framework begins with a really crucial first step, self-awareness.
So before we can even start building our emotional intelligence, we need to kind of take stock of where we're at.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually go about doing that?
Well, Lone suggests a few different approaches.
Yeah.
There are some formal assessments you can find online, or you can just engage in some good old-fashioned self-reflection.
Yeah.
Think about your typical reactions in different situations.
Okay.
How do you handle stress? How do you respond to feedback, particularly when it's critical? And maybe most importantly, how well do you read other people's emotions?
Okay.
Not just in person, but in those digital interactions we were talking about earlier.
That last one is something I definitely need to work on. I know I've had some misunderstandings in emails and chats where the tone just didn't translate well.
It happens to the best of us.
It does.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say we've done some self-assessment and we have a better sense of our EI strengths and weaknesses. What's next?
Lone calls the next step skill gap analysis. It's about getting specific.
Okay.
What particular areas of EI do you need to work on? Is it self-awareness, empathy, the ability to motivate yourself and others? Each of these areas requires a slightly different approach.
And that's where Lone's toolbox of strategies comes in, right?
Exactly. He offers all sorts of different techniques tailored to different aspects of EI.
I like that.
It could be something as simple as practicing active listening, really honing in on what others are saying, both verbally and non-verbally,
Mm.
even in a virtual setting, or it might involve working on your non-verbal communication skills, being more mindful of your body language and facial expressions, especially on camera.
Oh, that's a good one.
He even includes exercises for building empathy, putting yourself in someone else's shoes to really understand their perspective.
So it's not just a one-time fix, it's like an ongoing process.
Exactly. It's
Right.
like building any other skill. It requires consistent effort, practice, and a willingness to adjust your approach as needed. And the beauty of it is the better you get at reading and understanding emotions, the smoother your interactions become, both personally and professionally.
That's a great point. All right, so we've got the roadmap for emotional intelligence. What about Lone's framework for critical thinking? I'm really interested in that one, given how much information we're bombarded with these days, especially from AI.
Yeah, it's a crucial skill in the age of information overload.
Wow.
And Lone's framework is all about recognizing that our mental models, the ways we process and evaluate information, they need an upgrade for the digital age. We
Yeah.
can't rely on the same methods we used in the past, especially with AI becoming such a prevalent source of information.
Okay, so how do we go about upgrading our mental models? It sounds like a pretty daunting task.
It can seem that way, but Lone breaks it down into manageable steps.
Yeah.
The first step is developing a healthy skepticism towards AI-generated information.
Okay.
It's not about rejecting it outright, but about learning to question it, to look for potential biases in the data or the algorithm itself.
Right, because it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that because something is generated by a computer, it must be objective and accurate.
Exactly, and that's where techniques like algorithmic thinking come in. Lone encourages us to understand the logic behind how AI makes decisions.
Okay.
What data is it trained on? What are the assumptions built into the algorithm?
Right.
Once you start peeling back those layers, you can better assess the reliability of the information it produces.
That makes sense.
He also emphasizes the importance of developing a systems perspective.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means looking beyond the immediate data and considering the bigger picture,
Okay.
the interconnectedness of things and how our actions ripple outwards.
So it's about recognizing that information doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Hmm.
It's part of a larger system with complex relationships and potential consequences.
Exactly, and that leads to more holistic and ethical decision-making,
Right.
which is crucial in the age of AI. Lone actually brings up that Netflix example again here. Remember how we talked about their decision matrix? They use AI to analyze data and predict popular content, but they don't just blindly follow the algorithm's recommendations.
Right, there's still human judgment involved.
Exactly. They're weighing the data against other factors,
Mhm.
like creative vision, diversity, ethical considerations.
So it's really about integrating those AI insights with human judgment.
Precisely. That's critical thinking in action, being able to make more informed, ethical, and ultimately more successful decisions.
I like that. Now, what about resilience? That seems more crucial than ever in today's rapidly changing work landscape. I mean, think about what the textbook said about the rise of the gig economy and the constant pressure to adapt and upskill. That's the reality for a lot of people these days.
It is, and Lone's framework for building resilience is based on what he calls the resilience quotient,
Okay.
which has two main components, emotional stability and behavioral adaptation.
So, what does emotional stability look like in a practical sense? Is it about never getting stressed or upset?
Not at all. It's about being able to manage those difficult emotions, effectively tolerating uncertainty, and seeing change as an opportunity rather than a threat.
Okay.
Think about all the shifts happening in the workplace right now,
Yeah.
from those demographic changes we talked about earlier to the evolving expectations around work-life balance and the rise of remote work. It's a lot to navigate.
It is. I can see how someone with low emotional stability would get really overwhelmed and burned out in that environment.
Absolutely. And that's where the second component of the resilience quotient comes in behavioral adaptation.
Okay.
This is about being able to evolve your skills, modify your habits, and adjust your responses based on feedback and new information.
So being flexible, willing to learn new things, not being afraid to experiment, even if it means stepping outside your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Lone highlights some really interesting research-based strategies for boosting resilience. One that stood out to me was developing a growth mindset, believing that your abilities can be developed through hard work and dedication.
I like that.
He also emphasizes the importance of building a strong support network.
Oh, yeah, like having your own personal cheerleading squad for your career.
Exactly. People who believe in you, challenge you, and offer support when things get tough. Because, let's be real, this stuff isn't always easy.
It's not.
Navigating the future of work can be challenging, even with the best tools and resources. Having people you can rely on can make all the difference.
I agree. Okay, so we've covered emotional intelligence, critical thinking, and resilience. What about digital literacy? I have to admit, I sometimes feel like I'm just scratching the surface of what's possible with technology.
It is a vast and ever-expanding landscape, but Lone provides a really helpful map for navigating it.
Okay, good.
He breaks digital literacy down into those 5 components we touched on earlier: technical fluency, data, competency, security awareness, digital communication, and technical problem solving.
Right. It really highlights how digital literacy is about so much more than just knowing how to use a computer.
It is technical fluency, means being comfortable with a wide range of digital tools, but also being adaptable to new technologies as they emerge. Data competency, as we discussed earlier, is about understanding how to interpret data, identify patterns, and draw meaningful insights. Security awareness is about protecting yourself and your organization from cyber threats, but it also extends to using technology ethically and responsibly.
Right. And then there's digital communication, knowing how to convey your message effectively across different platforms and formats. And finally, technical problem solving, using technology to troubleshoot issues, optimize systems, and come up with creative solutions.
You got it. Lone emphasizes that building digital literacy is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
Because technology is constantly evolving.
Exactly. So we need to be committed to continuous learning and adaptation.
It's almost like learning a new language. The more fluent you become, the more you can do with it, the more you can express yourself.
I love that analogy. And just like learning a new language, it takes time, effort, and a willingness to make mistakes along the way. Now for the final skill, creative synthesis, the one where we get to see the magic of human ingenuity combined with the power of AI.
Okay, remind me again what exactly creative synthesis is. It's the one I'm having the most trouble wrapping my head around.
It's about harnessing both your own creative potential and the power of AI to develop truly innovative solutions. Think of it as a collaboration where each partner brings their unique strengths to the table.
Okay.
Lone's framework emphasizes the importance of both divergent and convergent thinking in this process.
Okay, those sound familiar, but remind me what they mean again.
Divergent thinking is all about generating ideas, exploring possibilities, and making connections.
Okay.
It's about expanding your thinking and considering a wide range of options like brainstorming on steroids.
So it's about letting your imagination run wild, breaking free from conventional thinking.
Exactly. Then convergent thinking comes in to help you narrow down those options, evaluate potential solutions, and make decisions. It brings structure and focus to the creative process.
So it's like a dance between expanding your thinking and then narrowing it down to the most promising solutions.
I love that analogy. And Lone provides a whole arsenal of tools and techniques for enhancing both your divergent and convergent thinking skills. He talks about things like cross-domain integration, combining ideas from different fields to spark new insights. And he stresses the importance of perspective shifting, looking at problems from multiple angles to challenge your assumptions.
So it's about getting out of your comfort zone, both intellectually and creatively.
Exactly. And that's where the real breakthroughs happen, when you can break free from those ingrained patterns of thinking and see things in a new light. When you combine that human ingenuity with the power of AI, you unlock incredible potential.
This is making me so excited about the future of work. It's not about being replaced by machines. It's about humans and machines working together to create something truly amazing.
That's the spirit. And remember, creative synthesis is a skill you can develop and refine over time. Lone offers a wealth of practical advice and exercises in Humanity Elevated to help you unleash your creative potential.
Awesome. Okay, so we've explored all 5 essential skills in depth. What's next on our journey?
Well, you've developed these incredible skills, but now you need to showcase them to the world. Lone dedicates a whole section of his book to building your personal brand in the digital age, and that's where we'll head next.
All right, before we jump into the world of personal branding, let's take a quick pause to absorb all this incredible information. We'll be back in a moment to explore how to craft a digital identity that truly shines and sets you apart in the future of work.
Looking forward to it. See you in a minute.
All right, so we've covered the essential skills for this future of work. Right, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, resilience, digital literacy, and creative synthesis.
Right, a powerful toolkit.
Yeah, it feels like a really solid foundation, but now I'm thinking, okay, I've got these skills. How do I actually show them all, build a personal brand that helps me stand out in this crazy digital world?
That's the million-dollar question, and that's where the last part of Lone's book, Humanity Elevated, really comes in. He called it the digital you.
Okay, the digital you. I like that.
It's such a great way to frame it because, in a world where so much of our lives play out online, we're all essentially creating these digital versions of ourselves.
Right, it's like our online persona.
Exactly. And just like our physical selves, our digital selves need care, attention, a bit of strategic planning.
Okay, I'm all for strategic planning, so where do we start?
Lone gives us this really comprehensive framework for building your personal brand. And he starts with understanding your digital brand architecture.
Digital brand architecture. That sounds kind of technical. Break that down for me.
Okay, so it's more than just building a website, although that's definitely part of it.
Okay.
He breaks it down into 6 key components.
Mm-hmm.
Your digital identity, your brand strategy, content creation, platform, presence, engagement, and measurement.
With 6 components, I'm already feeling a little overwhelmed. But let's take it one step at a time. What does he mean by digital identity?
Your digital identity is like the foundation of your personal brand.
Okay, the core.
It's the core of who you are professionally. Your values, skills, expertise, and what makes you,
Yeah.
what makes you unique.
So it's about more than just listing your skills and experience on your LinkedIn profile, right? It's about crafting a narrative.
Exactly.
It captures who you are and what you bring to the table.
And once you have a clear sense of that digital identity, you can move on to developing your brand strategy.
Okay, so what does that involve?
That's about figuring out how you want to express that identity online to achieve your professional goals.
Okay.
What's your target audience? What platforms are they using? What kind of message is going to resonate with them?
So it's not just about, throwing things out there and hoping something sticks.
Right.
It's about being intentional and thoughtful about how we present ourselves online.
Exactly. And that brings us to content creation.
Okay, content is king, right?
It is, and this is about developing and sharing high-quality content that showcases your expertise, your insights, your unique perspective.
So like blog posts, articles, videos, podcasts,
All of that,
social media updates.
whatever format works best for you to express yourself and connect with your audience.
So it's about becoming a thought leader, not just a job seeker.
Exactly. By sharing valuable content, you position yourself as an expert in your field, someone people want to listen to and learn from.
Right, someone who's worth their time.
And that builds credibility and trust, which
Yeah.
are so important in the digital world.
Okay, so we've got our digital identity, our brand strategy, we're creating awesome content. What about platform presence? This is where the website comes in, right?
It does. Your website is like your digital home base,
Mm-hmm.
a place to showcase your work, your bio, your contact info. But platform presence goes beyond just having a website.
Yeah.
It's about strategically managing your profiles across different platforms.
So like LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook, industry-specific platforms like GitHub or Behance, wherever your target audience is hanging out,
Right.
each platform has its own unique culture and audience. So you have to tailor your approach accordingly.
So it's like being a social media butterfly, but with a purpose.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And then comes engagement.
Engagement.
It's not enough to just create great content and have a beautiful website.
Right.
You actually have to interact with your audience, build relationships, foster a sense of community.
So respond to comments, answer questions, participate in discussions.
Exactly. Show that you're genuinely interested in connecting with people.
Be human, even in the digital world.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And finally, there's measurement.
Okay, what do we measure?
This is about tracking the impact of all your brand building efforts.
Okay.
So you can see what's working, what's not, and adjust your approach accordingly.
So like, are people visiting my website, engaging with my content, reaching out to me for opportunities?
Exactly. By tracking those metrics, you can make more data-informed decisions about how to refine your strategy.
So it's a constant process of learning, iterating, and improving.
Exactly. Building a personal brand is a journey, not a destination.
I like that.
And the digital landscape is always changing, so you need to be adaptable and willing to evolve along with it.
This is so helpful. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding of what it takes to build a successful personal brand in this digital age.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Okay.
It's about being authentic, being consistent, and being committed to continuous learning and growth.
Those are great words to live by. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the future of work, what's the one key takeaway you want our listener to remember?
The future of work is here, and it's full of possibilities. By developing those essential human skills, building a strong personal brand, and embracing a future-proof mindset, anyone can thrive in this new world of work. It's not about waiting for the future to happen. It's about actively creating it.
That's such a powerful message. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There are resources, communities, and mentors out there to support you every step of the way.
Absolutely. And if you ever find yourself needing to go deeper on any of this, we're always here for another deep dive. Good luck out there.
Thanks for joining us.